In today's weekly Forex forecast, we are discussing the DXY, the euro, the pound, the dollar versus the franc, and also gold as we head into September. Now, if you guys want my help with your trading, including seeing my trades in real time, that includes one on the pound that we'll discuss in this video that is nicely in profit. If you want my trades in real time, including entry, take profit, and stop loss, also VIP only videos, daily trade setups, discussions throughout the day, all in real time in Discord, and also the full course, be sure to check out the link in the description of this video for 85% off lifetime access to our VIP group. And again, guys, that price is going to be going up soon, so be sure to get in now while you still can, because as I mentioned before, the price has been the same for years, and it's just kind of the times that we live in that I'm paying more now than I was then, so the price has to go up. All right, guys, looking at the DXY here, the US dollar index, the market right now is sitting at a crucial point as we head into a new month. So what we talked about in recent videos here was the fact that this market is very sideways, obviously between 97.70 support, also this area up here at 98.60. Now, at the moment, we do have the market rotating lower following the retest up here of resistance and sitting right there at 97.7 support. Okay, now where we go in September really depends on what we get here from 97.70 over the coming days. Now, one thing here, keep in mind that Monday is a US holiday, so that could kind of stifle the market here a little bit, on Monday, so keep that in mind as we head into next week. But really, a sustained break below 97.70 is required here to get the DXY down here into these unfinished auctions, these poor lows, one around 97.42. We also have two more down here off of this low from July, right around 96.70. Okay, so areas like this, guys, tend to be magnets for markets tend to revisit them. However, as I mentioned in recent videos, this right now, okay, these levels down here are protected by 97.70 support. Okay, so the DXY has to get below here to target these areas in September. And alternatively, if we see the market hold above here going into September, then we could get a pushback here into this resistance area, also that long upper wick from Wednesday. All right, so no clear indication right now from the DXY, but as I've said now for over a month, if you look at this on the monthly time frame, this is the bottom of that 2011 channel that we've discussed. So off of this low from 2011, you've got the lows down here and currently the last few months. Now, one thing to note here, we've also talked about this, but it's important to understand as we go into a new month, is that each time the DXY has bottomed here, it has taken months. Okay, so this is the monthly time frame, and notice how long it took the DXY back here to finally bottom. The same thing if we move over and look at this price action here in the early 2020s. Okay, looking at the price action on the monthly time frame, you can see it was several months within this range. The DXY even revisited that first low before it finally bottomed. Okay, so if we are going to see the DXY put in a macro bottom here in 2025, this could play out the same way. So keep that in mind. Right now, we are seeing the first few months in this area, but as I've alluded to in recent videos, we could just see this extend over, for the next few months, especially as we come out of those summer months. Okay, so that is one possibility. And again, looking at the daily time frame, we do have those poor lows down here that could, attract the market lower here in September if we get the break below 97.7. Now, one development that could be critical going into next week, although we'll have to wait and see, is looking at the 4-hour. Okay, so this is our trend line. Again, this is drawn from the daily close back here. So this is a valid trend line. And when you look at this here, what you'll notice is that on Friday, okay, between Thursday and Friday, we had the DXY come down here, test this area. Notice these 4-hour closes right here. Notice this 4-hour low. Now, this candle technically broke it. This was the first 4-hour close below this level, okay, going back, throughout August. So this area could now flip to resistance. However, again, you have support down there at 97.7. So this is not to say that the DXY is bearish right now, because again, it has to get below this 97.7 area to really break down in September. However, the fact that the market is now trading below this trend line here on a 4-hour closing basis could be something to watch as we head into next week. But just remember, Monday is a US holiday, so don't expect too much action early next week. Okay, so we'll have to keep an eye on this one here. If it gets above this level once again, then again, we could see that pushback here toward that imbalance from this move lower around 98.40 up to about 98.60. All right, so looking at the EURUSD next. So what I've maintained here, and by the way, guys, if this video is helping, if these videos help, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Also hit that like button, because I'm putting out videos like this one every single day. Okay, so looking at the EURUSD, what I've alluded to in recent videos and what I maintain going into September is that we are likely to see the market come up here and take out this poor high up here around 118.10. Now, we can't say that this is technically likely at the moment just because you have this pivot back here around 117.20. that the euro is going to have to get above. This is going to be resistance. You also have the DXY down there at 97.70, holding above that mark as of right now. However, the reason I think that we could see the euro come up here and take out this high is that, first of all, we have the poor lows on the DXY that we discussed. Okay, so you have these areas down here on the DXY. You have this area up here for the euro. Furthermore, if we look at this on an 8-hour time frame, go all the way out, you can see clearly an uptrend here in 2025. You also have the euro bouncing from this trend line that we discussed in a recent video. So this down here was a confluence of support around 115.80 that the euro tested last week. So you have this uptrend in place. You have the trend line in place here. And you've also got this poor high up here, which again, these unfinished auctions tend to serve as magnets for a market. Now, in order for this to become the likely scenario though, the euro has to get above here on the high time frames. If we do that going into September, then I think we get the push up here into this area. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that as long as we're below here though, if we look at this on the daily chart, we have a long lower wick from last Wednesday. And a lot of times lower wicks and upper wicks like this on the high time frames tend to serve as magnets for a market. So you can see this is the long lower wick back here from Wednesday. We really haven't seen much of a retrace into this. So as long as the euro is below this area, there is still a chance that we get one more rotation lower down here into this pocket before we get the bounce. Okay, now at the same time though, I'm not saying that this is a short. I would not want to be shorting the euro up here in this area, given the uptrend that we just talked about. Okay, so still very sideways, guys, very indecisive through here as we head into September. But I do think looking at this chart here, looking at the pound, I do think we're on the verge of some breakouts for these markets. Now, one thing you could do here as well, and I haven't done this with the euro yet, but looking at the highs back here off of these highs, you can see we do have a trend line along here as well that lines up in this area. So this really is going to be a confluence of resistance here for the euro. And this also means that a break above here would be that much more convincing for that push into the 118 area. Just keep in mind though, guys, this is going to be resistance until proven otherwise. So as long as the euro is below this area, this is going to be resistance. You have support down here off of this trend line. Now let's move along to the pound, because this one is also getting very interesting in the fact that it's coming off of this August trend line. So moving to the daily time frame, you can see that off of the closing price down here, or technically the open from August, which makes this even more significant. And yes, guys, you can draw trend lines from closing prices like this or open prices on the high time frames. And you can see that through here, right? We got another bounce right here at 134.50. So this is exactly what I talked about in recent videos last week, where I was talking about this as key support. You've got resistance up here off of this trend line. This is drawn from a 4-hour closing price. And you can see that we have highs through here, this high, and these recent highs. So this market, guys, is coiling as we go into September, telling me that the market is getting very close to that breakout potential. Now, when I say breakout, it doesn't mean, it's not implied that it's going to be bullish, okay? That could also be a bearish breakout. But the point here is that the market is coiling here between these two areas, and it's going to have to make a decision soon, okay? Now, I remain long from 134.55. I announced this in real time in the Discord group, okay? So that's the advantage of being in VIP, is that you do get my trades in real time. And right now the market is, you can see here, bounced right here from this confluence of support that we've discussed. And this is resistance up here off of that trend line, also this key horizontal through here. So you can see we got a perfect retest here on Friday. So now the question is, do we get the pound pushing above here in early September to target areas like 135.80? Or do we get the rotation lower from here and the market breaks below key support, okay? So we'll have to wait and see. There's no way for me to sit here and say what is the likely outcome, just because the market is still range bound, okay? And we have to respect what is on the chart, not what we want to see happen, right? So looking now at the pound, what I would say, guys, is that we're getting to kind of that point where if the market is going to break higher, you really want to see areas like this through here hold going into next week. So looking at these highs and lows, going back here to this low, you can see that we do have this pocket of support that extends down here. And you can technically draw this up here to this pocket of congestion, okay? So through here. Now, the interesting thing about this is that if you look at this here on the pound, you can see that this is going to be your pocket of support right around that 134.90 area. And if you look over here at the DXY, okay, this also is very close to that trend line that it just broke below, okay? So I'm not saying that the market has broken out yet. It certainly has not. But I think we're getting to that point, like I said, that if this market is going to give us that bullish break above 135.30 in September, then really you want to start to see areas like this down here hold into next week, okay? You don't want to see the market just going into the very apex of this pattern going into September, because then this could start to break down, okay? Typically, when you see symmetrical patterns like this, you want to see a breakout around this area where the pound is trading right now, not necessarily at the very end of the pattern or that apex. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at right now for the pound, guys. You've got support down here, but again, just keep in mind it's a very range-bound market here in August, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Certainly not here on Friday as I'm making this video, but September, guys, that is going to be a month to watch, because if we do get the market breaking out from this, which again, it's going to have to decide one way or the other, but if we get the bullish breakout, then you do have those single prints back here around 137, 3 of them, in fact, from July that could become targets for the pound. However, again, first, the market has to get above 135.30 and also these recent highs around 135.80. All right, so moving on to the dollar Swiss franc. I'm not going to spend too much time here because, to be honest, this market has just been a mess here in August. I mean, really, really choppy, far more choppy than even the euro or the pound. And that makes it pretty undesirable to trade. Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, is that we talked about 80/30/40 in recent videos. And you can see here that if we look at this area back here, so you've got this resistance on the weekly time frame off of these closing prices right back here. So this was a key resistance area, and we talked about this actually in VIP. So again, that is the benefit of being in Discord, is that you do get those real-time updates. But you can see that we've got this area back here. So this was support. We had the weekly breakdown. You can see this was just a retest as new resistance. Now, this is one reason too why I think that we could see the DXY start to lean lower in September, at least the first part of September, because you have things like the dollar Swiss franc holding below areas like 80.40, also 80.90 or around 81. And then also you have these poor lows down here in this area between 79 and 79.40. Okay. So as I mentioned before, areas like this, guys, tend to serve as, potential magnets for a market because these are unfinished auctions. So what that means is that the market profile back here at this time, at these lows, okay, indicated that sellers were not finished. So the fact that sellers were not finished down here does often indicate that you're going to get the market revisiting these lows potentially sometime in September. And that's the case as long as the market holds below 80.40 on a weekly closing basis. All right, so last up, let's talk about gold, XAUUSD, before we wrap up here. And gold, guys, right now is breaking out above 34.30. So what I talked about in recent videos, including that Wednesday outlook, was that the market was leaning toward a bullish breakout simply because even though it has been very sideways here for months, you can see that we have these higher lows that gold has been putting in ever since back here in May. So the fact that even though the market has been sideways, we've been getting these higher lows into this horizontal resistance did indicate some bullishness here for gold, or a lot of bullishness really for gold going into that 34.30 resistance area. So what's going to be key for gold right now is closing above this area, because you can see that back here, even though we did get touches along this area, including the all-time high back here, we have not seen gold close a day or a week above this. So what's going to be critical is here on Friday to see gold get above this. Now, keep in mind, there's over 2 hours left in today's session. So gold could easily close back below 34.30, in which case this remains as resistance going into September, okay? So keep that in mind, that right now this is undecided. We need to see gold get above here convincingly and flip this area to new support going into that first week of September. If it doesn't, again, the market remains range bound, okay? And you've got support down here off of these highs. All right, right around 3,400. So that's what to watch for going into September. Pretty clear cut here for gold. I mean, you have an uptrend all year long, and even before that, you have the market right now punching above 3,430, but a sustained break above that on the high time frames is going to be required to open up that all-time high back here at 3,500. So obviously a bullish look to gold here if it can close above 3,430 going into this week. Now, if the DXY, another consideration here is if the DXY does punch below 97.70 in September. So if we get the market here, the DXY holding below areas like this, so breaking support in September, then that could aid gold higher. Okay, that could push gold higher, targeting areas like this down here that we discussed. So if we get the US dollar breaking lower, that of course would fuel gold even higher and would be a bullish factor for gold. I'm not saying that the US dollar has to do that for gold to break out, because clearly, even with the US dollar mostly sideways, gold is having no problem rallying here. All right, so that's not the point, but my point here is that if the US dollar were to break down, then that would only help gold bulls to push the market back toward 3,500. All right, but all in all, guys, looking pretty bullish here as the market pushes into this area, carving those higher lows ever since May. Close above 34.30 up here. This would be the highest daily and weekly close for gold, and that could open up 3,500. Close below this, and we stay range bound with support coming in next week around 3,400. All right, guys, I hope the video's helped. If it has, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and also join us in VIP. See the link in the description of this video for 85% off lifetime access. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you again next week.